All right, welcome to the second lesson in Intro to After Effects here for RCA BVP 1. After the last lesson, you should have your name done in all the shape layers. If you'll notice that my name fills the entire space, and I'll pull this up so you can see how nice and tidy I've kept my area here. That is very important because, you know, with each of these layers that are here, you know, for this one there's 4 layers inside it. So if you spread that out and you start opening all of these out to all of your transform properties and all that stuff, it gets really big really fast. So that's why it's so imperative that you label them correctly, as well as you nest your different layers together so that it's nice and clean. Now what we're going to do today is you're going to learn about keyframing, and keyframing is really the motor that drives After Effects. Keyframing is what allows things to move, it allows things to shake, it allows things to do all of the things that you guys are expecting to know how to do. All of the effects that you will put on, you know, to make someone's head explode, all of those things are keyframed. So we're going to start with keyframing first, and it gets confusing. I will admit that it gets very confusing sometimes because basically keyframing, what it does is you tell After Effects, at this point in time, I want this thing to be at this place or doing this thing. And it gets confusing because you start putting keyframes in there and you put more and more keyframes, and it really kind of opens up. So we're just going to keyframe the overall letters. Now you could keyframe every single layer in here. For example, when you built your pieces, you could keyframe every single layer, and we're not going to do that. You could do that if you want. If you're feeling like making it go crazy, that's totally fine. We're just going to use the main transform properties for each letter. Now, what you need to do is go in, and the first thing you want to do, for example, this is how I want my video to end. So I'm going to go out to 25 seconds, and I'm going to keyframe opacity, rotation, scale, and position. I'm not going to worry about anchor point. I'm not going to change that at all. I'm also going to turn off all these other layers. I just did that by clicking on the eyeballs. And turning on the keyframes is just simply clicking these stopwatches. Now you see what happened over here, it put little diamonds. What these diamonds are telling After Effects is that at 25 seconds and 4 frames, it should be at a scale of 146 or 140.6 and 100%. There should be no rotation, it should be at full opacity. So I'm going to go back to 20 seconds. I am going to rotate it 155 degrees. Notice that it rotates around the anchor point. Remember that. So if you want to change the anchor point, you hit Y, move your anchor point tighter, or make it wider. And while it's doing that, I'm going to drop the scale down to 0. So what's going to happen now is After Effects, between 0 seconds and 25 seconds, it is going to stay at 0% scale, negative 158 degrees rotation. So I'm going to hit spacebar and we'll watch what happens. As it moves along in time, it's going to grow in terms of scale and rotate into that final position. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to back it up again, and I'm going to make it kind of do a pulsing thing. So we're going to put 100% there. So it's going to get larger, smaller, and then rotate once it gets past there. So let's make this one back to 0. So now what I'm rotating or what I'm affecting now is the scale. So in the first 5 seconds, there's going to be nothing. You're not going to see anything. And then it's going to open up. It's going to get larger. It's going to go from 0% to 1%. So what's happening is between here and here, it's on a scale. It's going from 0% to 1%. And then it's going to go back from 0 to 100. Or sorry, from 100 to 0. So it's going 0 to 100, 100 to 0. Okay, so now, once it's at 0, I'm going to stop it. So if I didn't have that layer, you would see nothing. Now, it's going to hit spacebar again and let it open up. And it drops down into place. There is no, for this project that you're about to do, there is no right answer, wrong answer. I want you to go in and practice with these. For opacity, now opacity, if you'll remember from Photoshop, is how opaque the image is. So right now it's at 100%. So what I'm going to do is just leave opacity alone because it's already got enough on this E. So I'm going to twirl that up, close it up. I'm going to open up the T. I'm going to pull down transform, and for the T, I'm going to have it come in a little bit earlier than the E. I'm going to go ahead and set my keyframes. I'm going to go back in time a couple of seconds, and I am going to drop it down to 0% for opacity. And I'm going to bring it back to 5 seconds, back to 100%, 0, 100, and then 0. So basically my T is just going to pulse on and off while that E comes in. Okay? So what you're going to do is just go through, and I'm going to add some rotation. Now I'm going to make it go crazy here. I'm going to make it do 10, let's just go 10 rotations. So what's going to happen is between here and here, that T is going to rotate 10 times. So what I'm really kind of going a little over the top, and it's going to be crazy, as you guys can see, that it's pulsing and it's rotating and it's doing all of those things. And then here we go. This is at regular speed. There goes the E. And the eventual goal is that all of these things will animate out to about 25 seconds and come in. So you have 5 seconds of no motion. So we've we've edited rotation with keyframes. We've edited opacity with keyframes. Now, the reason I start at 25 seconds and then work backwards is because I know that at 25 seconds, that's where I want everything to stop. So I set it there, and then you work backwards. So for this one, I'm just going to bring the eye here. I'm going to make the eye jump all over the screen. And if the other stuff rotating around gets confusing to you, just turn them off. You can just click the eyeball and turn them off. It's totally okay. So here's what animating the eye in is going to look like. Now, working with keyframes backwards means that you have to kind of be aware of that, you know, the last thing that you edit will be where it ends, not where it begins. Okay? And again, keyframes are the power engine for After Effects. Now, for this one, remember when we did the motorcycle jump and everybody got all excited because they wanted to make, you know, they did the shutter effect and did the strobe effect. To move your playhead, which is, you know, the little yellow line or yellow head with the red line, one frame up and down, you hit page down, and that goes forward 1 second, so, or 1 frame. So right now it's at 25.5. If I hit page down again, it goes to 25.6. I'm going to go the other way, and I'm going to drop the opacity down to 0%. Now it looks like there's 1 frame there. It's actually 2. Remember, you can zoom in. I'm going to copy these. Control C to copy. I'm going to hit page up 2 times. And I'm going to make that H strobe throughout this entire thing. Now, again, you can go back in, copy, go forward, paste, copy and paste. So, and again, this is very sloppy. Normally you'd be taking your time and doing it right, but just for the sake of demonstration, I am doing it very, very fast. Now, you'll notice that there's a lot of keyframes there. When you get later into After Effects and you're doing motion tracking or something to that effect, there's going to be a lot of keyframes. Again, that's what makes After Effects really awesome and work really well, are those keyframes. So I think we have enough here to get the point across. See the H just flickering? That is the beauty of After Effects. You can copy and paste those keyframes and just make things go crazy. So for your quiz, the power of After Effects lies in the keyframes. You work from the end of your timeline backwards if you're animating things, so that you know where the keyframe, you know, where the image will stop, and then you work backwards. And keyframes are really exciting. Sometimes they get confusing, but you can do this. I am not at all worried. The hardest part you've already done in making the shapes and getting the layers figured out. Thank you so much for watching, and happy keyframing.